Hey everyone, I'm Josh Lockheed, Training Evangelist at QuoteWerks. I'm joined by Brian Laufer, Vice President at QuoteWerks, and we'll be working together to discuss the different CRM and PSA integration options that you have within QuoteWerks. There are a large number of integrations offered, and the ability to configure each of those to meet your needs as a platform to manage the sales the sales process, really from first engagement with the client all the way to actually delivering those products and services. So today we're going to be reviewing the different integrations that we offer, and we're going to discuss both standard and advanced integrations as well. And while we'll be doing a demo later in the presentation, the webinar isn't really intended to be an end-to-end tutorial on how to set up the integrations, but really just an outline of the different options that you can leverage when you're integrating and using your quote workflow. With that being said, we again are talking about CRM and PSA integrations today. I do want to mention that there is a native contact manager that is built into QuoteWerks, both desktop and web product. So that is an option if you don't have a CRM or PSA. But again, today we're going to be talking specifically about how we integrate with those third-party integrations, CRMs and PSAs, for example. So without further ado, we'll kick off our presentation by just mentioning the fact that we are using GoToWebinar here, which means we do have an option to ask questions in the questions box. So throughout the course of the webinar, if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in there. Brian and myself will be reviewing those questions and doing our best to answer them throughout the course of the presentation. And I really appreciate everyone being engaged here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which I realized I did not. So in addition to the questions that you may ask, we also have the ability to answer questions after the webinar. I'd say if there's any questions that are specific to the content that we're covering, feel free to email community@quotewerks.com. Or as always, we have our support team here that can be reached via phone or support@quotewerks.com. Now, if you want to come back and review the information that we're going to be discussing in today's webinar, or you want to share it with someone that wasn't able to make it today, feel free to take a look at the recording, which we'll be sharing with you within about 48 hours of this presentation. So before we get into talking about the specifics of the integrations, I want to set the table by talking about what a CRM or a PSA is. When we talk about a CRM, we're talking about a customer relationship management system. And this is a system that's really built for the process of managing contacts, products, and really has this sales or customer service focus. So a lot of the CRM systems that you may see have some level of relationship management built in, customer lifecycle and journey mapping, the ability to create follow-ups and different engagements with customers, as well as email marketing and things of that nature. So again, when we're talking about a CRM, we're talking about a system that's typically used to manage customer relationships. When we talk about a PSA or professional services automation tool, we're talking about a tool that generally will have a lot of the same features as a CRM. We're going to have a means to manage contacts, a means to manage products, but the focus of a PSA is really on the project and resource management, managing your services and managing those services through delivery. So we'll talk about later today service tickets. So a service ticket would be something that would be used as a means to actually manage the process of delivering a service. So again, just wanted to set the table here to talk about what a CRM is and what a PSA is. And I would suppose that some of you out there are already using one of these types of solutions in your business already. So when we talk about the integration landscape here at QuoteWerks, there are a lot of different options. There's actually 14 native options, and then we have the little chain with the plus button there on the right, which represents our third-party integrations. So when we talk about CRM and PSA integrations today, we're really talking about those that are listed here: Act for Web, HubSpot, ConnectWise, Salesforce, Halo PSA, so on and so forth. But it's important to also mention that QuoteWerks does provide the ability to create add-ons, and we do have additional integrations that have been built by our different partners here in the United States and across the globe. So while you likely are using one of the solutions that's on this list, if you're not, and you have interest in integrating with a third-party software that's not listed here, then you can take a look at the web page under third-party integrations, or down the line, we're always looking to add new integrations as well. So keep an eye out for that. So With all of these integrations, there's a number of different components that we need to look at. So we need to look at what does the system actually do and where does it work. So we'll talk about both of those as we go through this. And I'll also mention that each of these integrations will have some specific standard integration features, and then others will have more advanced or more specific features to that platform. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue through. So I did want to talk about some of the resources that you have available to you, and this kind of goes to that fact that each integration has a little bit different of a way of integrating with the platform, QuoteWerks. One of the things that we've put up here is the feature matrix. This is available out on the website. I'm not going to pull it up. I'm not going to get into much detail, but you can see that we have a listing of all our CRM and PSAs. There's also going to be a list of whether or not supported on our desktop or web platform or both, as well as the addition that you might need in order to utilize those integrations. When I say addition, I'm talking about the addition of QuoteWerks. So that's one resource that you have available to you. It is out on the website, and we'll certainly provide a link to it as well. Also available is the QuoteWerks addition comparison. So this kind of takes what is in the features matrix and distills it down specifically based on the addition of QuoteWerks that you might be working with. So again, a good thing to peruse to see what the support is for the different additions, for the different CRMs or PSAs. And then I also have here our integration webpage. So if you have interest in going in and looking at specific information about the CRM or PSA that you're looking to integrate with, you can go there and just click into whatever the name of the CRM or PSA is, and it'll have a lot of information there. And then we also have videos as well. In addition to doing webinars like this, we're constantly creating new videos that go through how you might use the different integrations, and we'll get in a lot more detail than the webinar that we're doing today. So certainly say if you have interest in learning more, that's a great resource as well. And last but not least, we have our help files as well. The help files are hosted on the QuoteWerks website, and we have a page, or pages, I should say, associated with each one of the integrations that we have. It's going to walk you through the setup, use, and general considerations and best practices. So these are all good resources for you to reference if you're looking to learn more. But for the point of today's integration or today's webinar, we're going to talk about the different integration features that are typically included with the CRM and PSA integration. And as I mentioned, we're going to break these down into two different areas. We've got the standard integration features and then some more of the advanced integration features. So as I mentioned, one of the standard integration features is going to be contact integration. So this includes the ability to pull in contacts from your CRM or PSA and potentially create new contacts in your CRM or PSA directly from QuoteWerks as well, if they don't already exist there. We also have the ability to pull in products from a product or items list from your CRM or PSA. That gives you the ability to pull in those products along with their descriptions, the pricing, and other characteristics that might be important to you. There's the opportunity or deal integration. So many of the different CRM or PSA systems that we work with have a opportunity or deal component, meaning that that particular object is used to manage that opportunity or deal from creation to close. And we'll show how that integration works in a little bit. A number of these also include the ability to create activities or follow-ups. So being able to schedule a follow-up call, a follow-up meeting, or things of that nature. There is also a really cool, quick link that you can use that is created after an opportunity is created and linked to QuoteWerks, and that's the auto links on the links tab, which I'll show you again during our demo here, but a really cool feature that's included as a standard feature across our integrations. And then we've got DataLink integration. Now, while DataLink integration is on this list, I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a simple or standard feature. It's more of an advanced feature, but it is one that is included with a majority, if not all, of our CRM and PSA integrations. And that DataLink integration gives you the ability to share non-standard field data across systems. So you can either push data into QuoteWerks or pull data out of QuoteWerks based on an action, whether it's saving the opportunity or pulling in sold to contact info. Again, something else that we're going to discuss in a little bit more detail as we continue through the demo. Now, when we talk about advanced integration features, we're talking about things like the handling of recurring revenue for services or managed service contracts, the ability to create and process purchase orders, the ability to create service tickets, so going a step beyond the conversion of an opportunity to an order, but how are we actually going to deliver those services that are included on the quote? Agreements in the same vein, how are those agreements going to be managed? Creating sales orders, printing CRM or PSA fields on your layouts. So we have options to deliver quotes in a number of different ways. Some of those are going to be via email with PDF, and we also have Quote Valet, which is QuoteWerks online delivery and acceptance vehicle. And this printing fields option would give you the ability to include those fields on those printed documents. So on that PDF, including additional information that's being actually pulled from your CRM or PSA. We also have the ability to set up not just a primary CRM, but a secondary CRM as well. So if you're utilizing one CRM for one group of processes or workflows and another CRM for another group of workflows, you can do that, and it's set up so that we can support that. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but wanted to mention it as a feature. And then also quotes from notifications. So some of our PSAs and CRMs give you the ability to go to your dashboard within QuoteWerks, see that there's an opportunity that's been created in your CRM or PSA, and then create a quote directly from that opportunity that's in QuoteWerks. So a number of different options here, and that, just like that, initiating activity from your CRM or PSA is another option that you have here. So let's say you're in your CRM or PSA, some of these will give you the ability to actually create a quote from that, or to just link directly into QuoteWerks as well. So again, we've covered the standard features, we've gone over some of the advanced features, and now we are going to talk about the general workflow and how some of these different features integrate into the quote delivery and order conversion workflow. So when we're talking about building a quote in QuoteWerks, we're talking about, at a simplified level, this process that we have here. We're going to select a contact, we're going to populate our quote with some products, we're going to customize that quote, maybe make some products optional, maybe change some pricing, edit some descriptions. We're going to save that quote. Likely at some point during the sales process, there's going to need to be a change made to that quote. You can make changes to that quote, save it once again, and then once we're ready to go and the customer has either approved the order or accepted the order and paid through Quote Valet, that order would then be converted that quote would then be converted to an order. So again, this is just a standard workflow of how a quote goes from initial creation all the way to conversion. Now, how do our CRMs and PSAs actually integrate at these different points in the process? So the first one here is selecting a contact. Again, talked about the fact that when you're first going in, you're able to select a contact from your CRM or PSA. You're then going to pull in a product, and this also is going to originate in most cases from your CRM or PSA. You're going to make some changes to that quote, and then when you're ready to save it, this is when the deal or opportunity integration gets kicked off. So every time you save a quote, you're going to have the opportunity to create or update that opportunity or deal. And also that opportunity or deal that's created in that system, in most cases, is going to include your products and services as well. So line item detail that's coming from the quote as well. Once we've saved that quote, again, we're going to make some changes to it. And every time we save that quote, the deal is going to be updated. The products and services are going to be updated if they've changed. And this is actually a really great solution for a lot of companies out there. If you look at just the general behavior of a sales representative, one of the things that they, I don't want to say hate to do the most, but I would say fail to do the most often would be update their opportunities. Many years ago, I was in that same boat. This is a way for you to be able to manage your workflows in a different manner. And if your sales reps are actually creating and working with their quotes in QuoteWerks, this save quote, create/update deal process is going to make sure that every time that quote is changed, that they're given and prompted to update that opportunity with all of the latest and greatest information, probability information, forecast amounts, things of that nature. So again, a great solution in general, but also a solution for those sales reps that might have some challenges making sure that their pipelines are updated appropriately. So we've created the quote, we've pulled in products, we've pulled in our contacts, we've saved the quote, and we're ready to convert it to an order. That's when we have the ability to create that opportunity or convert that opportunity to one. Now I have HubSpot listed here. We're actually going to do a demo in HubSpot in a little bit, but that can be renamed to really any of the CRM or PSAs that we work with. And this is an important piece because it's saying that when that quote is converted to an order, we're actually going to mark that deal or opportunity as won in the CRM or PSA, kind of rounding out the entire process. So some of the things that you need to consider when you are setting up your CRM. So where do your contacts live? Do they live within your contact manager? Do you even need a contact manager? Again, we mentioned that QuoteWerks has a lightweight contact manager built in. The other thing you want to ask yourself is, where do my products live? It's possible that you store your products in the same location, same CRM, same PSA that you do your contacts. Maybe not. So you want to take that into consideration to determine whether or not you're going to be using your CRM or potentially an external data source to manage your products. What activity do I want to be logged? So really, in what way do you want this system to manage your process? Do you want the system to keep all of your activity that's going on in QuoteWerks logged in your CRM? We can do that. So something that's important to know if you want. What information should be shared between systems? So this is talking about that data link, really. Or what is natively shared between the two systems, and what additional information might you need? And of course, as we mentioned, you could leverage DataLink, and we'll show you how to do that a little bit later. When should I create an opportunity, a deal? Also a big consideration. Do you want to do it at the beginning of the quoting process? Do you start with an opportunity in your CRM or PSA and only create a quote once that opportunity is ready to move to quoting stage? These are things that we can't answer, but is really going to be based on what your workflows are. And these are the things you need to consider, again, when you're going through a CRM setup. And then what is the process when a deal is won? Also important to consider. So PSA setup, you're going to want to consider all the different things that we did for CRM. But again, we're focused more on service delivery here. So again, do I need a CRM? Does the PSA provide all the same things that I need from a CRM solution? It's possible. For example, ConnectWise is a PSA solution that has a products list, has a contacts list. In that instance, you may or may not want to have another solution, but that's all up to you. Now again, focused on services. Where do my services live? Do they live within your PSA? Do they live within your own product database? That's going to be important so that you make sure that they're connected and you're able to pull them into your quotes and proposals. So what is my service delivery process? Again, getting more towards how are we going to take this quote or proposal after it's left the quoting system and service that quote? From a PSA perspective, it might be a service ticket in ConnectWise, for example. But these are all important things to consider. How do I handle recurring services? So when we're talking about billing and services, you're going to have oftentimes services that are billed on a monthly, quarterly, or annually basis. How are you going to handle those? How are you going to ensure that those services are not only passed between systems appropriately, but then actually managed to completion? And then another really important piece here is what teams are involved in the service and project management. And that's something, again, that's going to be based completely on your business, but can be mirrored with the different systems that we're talking about today. And then while we're not going to get into it in too much detail today, a few of the different options that we have for PSA integrations provide the ability to manage purchase orders and assist with the PO process as well. So the question would be, how do I manage purchase orders and purchasing? And can that be something that I can do directly with my PSA system? So all different considerations, and based on the answers to these questions, you're going to start to develop the workflow, and then from that workflow, you can then develop the actual solution, which in this case, we're talking about an integration with the QuoteWerks system. So getting a little bit more into the actual steps that it takes to set up, we, again, want to know the systems and processes. We want to know what it is that we're trying to accomplish. That's number one before you do anything else. Then we get into more of the minutia of setting up the application connection. So entering your credentials for your CRM or PSA, set some defaults as to how you want that integration to behave, set up a product data source. So this would be the ability to pull information from your PSA or CRM if that's something that they offer. And then data link. Is there any additional information outside of the standard fields that you want to share, and how and when do you want to share those? So again, when we're going to approach setup, these are the things that we want to consider and make sure that we have in place. And then above all else, before you go live with a solution, it's really important to test. And I do that on a daily basis myself, and in the process of putting together different videos and such. And I will say it is a really great thing to put into your practice as well, because it gets you to understand the predictability of processes and maybe even how to refine your processes to make them more efficient. So as I've been alluding to through the course of this particular webinar, we're going to be doing a few different walkthroughs to talk about the different things that we've reviewed so far. I don't see any questions that have come in quite yet, so I will encourage you again, if you do have any questions, throw them in there. I know so far we've been at a quick clip and reviewed a lot of information, but now we're going to get into kind of the specifics of how things work. Now, again, as I've mentioned, HubSpot is going to be the system that I'm going to use today to demo our CRM integration, HubSpot being a CRM. But a lot of the things that we can do here are going to be similar to what you can do with other integrations, as this really mirrors one of our standard type integrations, if you will, in terms of the functionality. So I'm going to be doing my demo today on QuoteWerks Web. It's important to mention that, again, if you look at the feature matrix, there may be some different systems that work just with QuoteWerks Web or just with QuoteWerks Desktop, so on and so forth. For the purposes of today's demonstration, I'm working again with HubSpot, and we're also going to be doing a ConnectWise demo. Now, both of those are going to be the exact same process as what you see here in desktop and web, and desktop can do the exact same thing. When it comes to the integrations that work with both desktop and web, you're going to see the same interactions. Again, there are just some limitations for example, with Maximizer, right? It's a desktop application that only works with desktop, whereas Maximizer Web may work with web. Same thing with Act for Web. Act for Desktop will work with desktop, whereas Act for Web will work with web. Again, I'm getting into a little bit too much of the minutiae here, but that CRM matrix is going to be the one that you want to reference if you want to see the additions as well as the version requirements that there are for that software. After that aside, let me get back into the demo here. And the first thing I want to show you in this HubSpot demo is how you might set up the integration. It's, again, not going to be a full tutorial, just going to show you where you might go. So we've got setup here and then CRM integrations. So if you are coming in for the first time and setting up your HubSpot CRM integration, you're going to want to come in and select HubSpot and click OK, and that's going to save that integration. And then you would just click into the actual HubSpot CRM page here and then go to integration settings. And this is where you would configure in the account tab your credentials, and then in the deals tab the defaults. So again, I'm not going to go into this in much detail, but these defaults are similar across both HubSpot and ConnectWise, which we'll look at in a little bit, in terms of giving you the ability to manage how you want opportunities and deals to be created and what defaults you want to be used. Two things I'll point out here that are just kind of standard and high level. Completion of a deal to one, when you want that deal to be converted to one. Most people are going to choose automatic when converting to an order, but you have different options there. And then you also have use profit amount versus sale amount in deal. And that's going to give you just the profit amount rather than the actual total deal amount. Everything else here is really just mapping different fields. Again, we're not going to get into too much detail on that today, but I wanted to at least mention that it is an option. Now, one of the things that we discussed before was that you have the ability to use a secondary CRM. So right now we have HubSpot CRM set up as our primary CRM integration. On this page, you can choose to either use Autotask or ConnectWise as your secondary CRM. Now, I'm just going to kind of paint a picture here of a use case as to why you might do this. Let's say that you are using HubSpot CRM as your sales management tool, right? We've talked about CRM kind of being more in that sales management arena. So you use HubSpot CRM to store your contacts, maybe your products, and you use HubSpot to manage interactions with the customer. But you may also use, let's say, ConnectWise to manage the service delivery. So by using a secondary CRM, in its most basic example, you can manage the sales process, so the actual quoting and all of the back and forth with the customer utilizing HubSpot CRM. And only when the order is converted or quote is converted to an order would you then create the opportunity or create the connection to ConnectWise, right? So that would be the ability to, again, pull information from HubSpot, use it to build your quotes, and then once that quote is converted to an order, utilize ConnectWise to actually service the services that you might be quoting, or to manage that to completion. So again, another option that you have here, utilizing a secondary CRM. Many people are going to use just one. That's perfectly fine. But again, using a secondary CRM is an option, and certainly is used by a number of our customers. So I just wanted to kind of introduce that here, and we're going to pop back over to our workspace, which has our quote in it. And what I'd like to do here is start by going to my Sold to, Shipped to tab, and this kind of mirrors the workflow that we reviewed earlier. We're going to add our contact. I do want to mention the fact that if we wanted to, like I said, we do have the ability to create new contacts and companies from our system. So here we're just kind of putting in some information, and you can see that once we put in a certain amount of information, this gold new button becomes available to us. This becomes available because the new company doesn't already exist in the system. So we can click new. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to create this as a new company and new contact in the CRM. This is pretty standard across our different CRM and PSA integrations. One quick note is if this company already exists, and you're just creating a new contact, you'd want to do that in your CRM or PSA. The only time in which we are able to create this new company and contact is if the company and contact both do not exist in the CRM or PSA. So I'm going to clear out these fields by using the wiper button here. And instead of creating a new contact, I'm going to use the search function to actually search our HubSpot for our contact. Now I'm searching for Aspire, and we've got myself. I'm going to put myself as a contact as the Sold to, Shipped to, Bill to contact. And you can see down here at the bottom that there are some numbers here indicating that this contact is being linked from our CRM. Next step in our process would be to add products to our quote. So we're going to go and add some products. We'll go ahead and hop over into our HubSpot CRM product data source, and we can search for some options here. So I'm going to search for Cisco. And you can see that we have a number of different products that are being pulled in. I'm going to go ahead and pull in the 3560 switch, and I'm also going to pull in our install. Now note that the Add Item Assistant gives us the ability to adjust quantities as well as pricing, and you can view the price history for the customer and the item. I'm going to go ahead and add these to our quote, and we'll also go ahead and put a managed service on here as well, just for the sake of having a nice rounded out quote. All right, so you can see we've quickly and easily been able to assign a contact, add some products, and we are good to go. So one thing I do want to mention here is that with these products, you do have the ability to adjust what the customer sees. I did indicate that we have a tool called Quote Valet. It's our online quote delivery and acceptance vehicle. So you could give customers options if you'd like. Let's say, for example, that we wanted to give the customer the ability to change the quantity of this particular switch. We can do that by coming in and right-clicking on that line and hitting Edit Line Attributes, and then allow QV quantity change. Yes. Now, if we wanted to make it optional, we could also do that by selecting Is Optional. But again, I just want to show you that there's a lot of different things that you can do here, and making them optional or giving the customer the ability to change quantities is one of those things that you can do with line attributes. Now that we have all that information in the quote, we'll hit Save, and this is where we really kick off that integration, or I should say deal integration with HubSpot. So you can see we have the name of our opportunity. We're going to have different things assigned, like a doc number or project number, and you can see that my status says I'm online. If you were using the integration and wanted to update, but didn't want it to actually do any information or change anything in HubSpot, or didn't want to actually attach a deal, you can just go and hit offline. I'm going to be online because I do want to create and attach a deal, and I do want to create a linked document. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And because I switch back in between CRMs, I get a little pop-up here, but that's not an issue. And you can see here that we are in the Create New HubSpot Deal window. So I have the ability to either create a new opportunity or attach it to an existing opportunity. And then I have the ability to fill out these different fields. Now, these fields are tied to the deals tab that we looked at earlier, which is going to essentially default what these different fields might contain. So we're going to go ahead and put a forecast in here. We're going to also set a type, new business, and put in a little note. Now, this information could be anything you want. It's going to be passed over into the opportunity, so it should be something that informs your sales team or potentially your services team as to how things may be handled down the line. So as I mentioned, we do have the ability to create auto links when an opportunity is created in the CRM or PSA, and we get to that by going to the Links tab. So rather than having to open another browser and go to the HubSpot website, you can just go to Links tab and you'll see we have links to our sold to, shipped to, and billed to contacts and companies, as well as the ability to view the deal that we just created in HubSpot CRM as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on View Deal in HubSpot CRM. And you can see quickly, easily, we're in that deal. We didn't even have to leave QuoteWerks Web to get there. So what we have here in this deal is we've got the name of the deal, we've got our forecast amount, we've got all the information that came over from our create opportunity or create deal window. You'll see we have new business as our type and our deal description is listed there as well. Now, if we come over to the right here, you'll see that we do have our different line items that have actually been written over into HubSpot. And under attachments, we have this DTF, which is a version of the quote in a file format that can be opened directly within QuoteWerks. So a lot of information contained in here. Once the opportunity is in here, you'd have the ability to service it in whatever way that you normally would, but with all of the information that's been passed over directly from QuoteWerks. Now, I just want to end things off here on HubSpot by showing you how us allowing that quantity change is actually illuminated through Quote Valet. So I've taken this quote, I've hit the deliver window, I'm going to hit upload to Quote Valet. Now with Quote Valet, rather than sending a PDF to the customer, we're sending a web page that gives them all of the different options that are contained in the quote. Here we can set our signing options. We can do reminder options to remind the customer if they haven't reviewed the quote in a certain number of time when the document's expiring, or if they've accepted but not paid. I'm going to go ahead and keep all of those as is, and I'm going to upload this to the Quote Valet server. You can see it's very quick, and we now have a link to that web page on the Quote Valet server. So very, very standard in terms of the way that it's displayed here. We've got our prepared for, prepared by. We've got a link to the PDF quote here as well. But the thing that I did in the edit line attributes is I made the quantity adjustable for this particular product. And you can see now if the customer were to get this quote and say they wanted to order 4 of those instead of just 1, they can very easily change those quantities on their own. If we wanted, we can also make optional items so they can come in, select or deselect options as well. And when they're ready to accept, all they have to do is come down here, digitally sign the document. And if you have payments set up through our payment integrations, when they click to accept, they'd be given the option to pay via whatever method you gave them available. So potentially credit card payment or something like that. All right, so that is the HubSpot CRM overview. And again, I know we're moving pretty quickly, but I want to give everyone an option to ask questions if there are any. I don't see any that are going to be addressed here. I did see Brian has been answering some questions while I've been on the line, so I appreciate that, Brian. So that being said, again, this was an overview of HubSpot CRM. Let's go ahead and take a look at our ConnectWise integration at some of those more advanced features that we talked about earlier. So what I did is I just closed out of the existing document that we were just working with, and I am going to create a new one. But before I do anything else, I want to make sure that I have ConnectWise set up as my preferred CRM. So we'll go to Setup, and CRM integrations. And this time, instead of HubSpot CRM, we're going to go ahead and choose ConnectWise, and we'll hit OK. Now, just like with HubSpot, if we wanted to, we could go and click into ConnectWise. We could go in and put in our access information, our URL information, public, private key, so on and so forth. Also set up all the different integration defaults as well. I'm actually not going to do that now. Again, not going to go too deep into the setup, but I do want to talk about this DataLink option here, as it's been something that I've mentioned a couple times during this call. If we click into DataLink, again, what DataLink gives us the ability to do is share non-standard field information across systems. So we can either push information into QuoteWerks or pull information out of QuoteWerks. And what we have set up here in our DataLink setup is a process by which, when we create or update the opportunity, we are going to write into the external system, which is ConnectWise, our DH purchasing notes field into a custom field on the ConnectWise opportunity. Again, this is just one example of how you might do that, or how you might leverage DataLink. The extensibility is really pretty vast when you look at the actual setup screen. So I'm just showing you here quickly. This would be the action, event, or context that would trigger the integration. Let's say retrieve sold to. In this case, instead of writing out to the external system, we'll read into QuoteWerks. And let's say we wanted to take our billing terms field from ConnectWise and put it in our terms field in QuoteWerks. We can easily do that. So what that means is anytime we retrieve our sold to information, we are going to read into QuoteWerks the billing terms from the terms field in ConnectWise. So again, I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want to actually create that one, but it gives you an idea as to the different ways in which you can utilize DataLink. We're actually going to show you DataLink in action in just a minute here. All right. So just like with our previous demo in HubSpot, we are going to want to add sold to, ship to, and some items here. But before we do, I'm just going to put a note in our purchasing notes field. Again, this is the field that's going to get passed over to ConnectWise via DataLink. I'm just going to type in preferred pricing received and applied. Now, again, this could be anything that you might want. You could actually rename this particular field just by hitting Control and double clicking. So if there was any bits of information that you want to be passed over, you can certainly do that with DataLink, and you can even customize the fields that we have here. Now, again, this is just being placed here so we can show you how it gets passed over later. We're going to now get into building the quote. So just like with HubSpot CRM, with ConnectWise, we're going to go to the Sold to, Ship to tab. We could create a new contact like we showed you could do in HubSpot CRM, but I'm going to go ahead and pull in a contact, and I'm going to pull in Ryan Dan from Computer Hut, and I'm going to put him as my Sold to, Ship to, and Bill to contact. I'm now going to go back to the Document Items tab, and just like we did with HubSpot CRM, I'm going to go to my product databases, and this time I'm going to go to ConnectWise. So with ConnectWise, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look for another Cisco switch here. I think the 2960S looks good, so we're going to add this in. And again, we have the Add Item Assistant here. I'm not going to make any changes, but we're going to add that in. We're also going to add some labor. Let's say we need to add a couple hours of labor to get this installed. We'll go ahead and add our labor in there as well. We'll say it's going to need 3 hours to get installed, so we'll change our quantity to 3. And then we also want to quote them out on some managed services. So we'll go ahead and hit managed, and we've got our managed service here. So we've got everything added to the document that we want. Again, we've got our switch, our labor, and our managed service. What I'm going to do here is just insert a section header. I'll call this one switch and installation. And you can see our section header actually gives us a nice little subtotal of those two sections over here. And I'm also going to add a section header for our monthly managed services. Okay, so we've now got our switch and installation and our monthly managed service. And we now can go in and adjust this managed service to make it recurring. So as of right now, it's just a standard product on our document, but it is something that we want to sell and want for the to collect payment for the customer on a monthly basis. So we're going to right click on the line and we're going to go to edit line attributes. Sometimes you just got to go back into it to get what you want. And we are going to go to is recurring and hit yes. Again, we want this to be a monthly billing cycle. And we can specify what our contract date ranges are going to be. So I'm just going to say this is going to start at the 1st of next month, and it's going to extend to the 1st of March 2026. So 1 year, 12-month contract. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And you'll see down here on the bottom right, a recurring monthly has now been updated to $100. All right. So we've got our DataLink set up. We've brought in our sold to, ship to contact, and we've populated our document with items. So we're now ready to save the document, which again, just like our HubSpot CRM integration, is going to give us the ability to create and update a sales opportunity, a linked document, follow-up activity, one-off activity, and a service ticket as well, which is something that we can talk about a little bit more here. So I'm going to keep all of these selected. I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to kick off our process of creating that opportunity. Now, as I mentioned, you have two different options when it comes to linking your opportunity. You can either create a new opportunity, or if you have an opportunity that's already been created in your CRM or PSA, you can select that as well. So in this case, instead of creating a new opportunity, what I've done is I've gone in and selected an opportunity that was previously created in ConnectWise. Now, it's important to note that when you do connect a QuoteWerks opportunity to an existing opportunity in a CRM or PSA, that it is going to take ownership of that opportunity, and the opportunity is going to be rewritten with whatever information is in the QuoteWerks quote. It's important to understand because the fields that we're putting in here are going to be updated on the ConnectWise side, including the product information. So again, very important to understand, but definitely something to take into account. Again, we're giving you different options depending on your workflow to essentially do the same thing. So we're just going to update the probability here. We'll say it's 50%. We'll choose a campaign or super special. Choose a inside sales rep. And down here at the bottom, there's two things I want to point out. First here is include revenue in total forecast. Most people are going to select that and make sure that that revenue is included in addition to the margin of the opportunity. And then this create/update individual product items is another important one. Most people are going to select this. This is going to make sure that the line item detail is written over into the opportunity in ConnectWise. So I'm going to hit save, and that's going to go through the process of actually creating that opportunity. And the next pop-up that we're going to get here is to actually do that call that we suggested we wanted to do. Now, this is a call, but there are a number of different pick list items that you can have brought in from ConnectWise in regards to different activities that you might want to take. You can choose who it's assigned to, a due date. In this case, let's say at the end of the week, we want to follow up with customer. And we want to follow up to schedule a meeting for the following week. So we're going to hit save. And now we had a one-off activity that we also set up. So we're going to say, let's tentatively schedule that appointment for Brian. And we're going to do that for the 21st. And this will be the presentation to customer about solution and implementation timelines. Right, so again, just creating a one-off activity, which is an appointment in ConnectWise. So we'll hit save one more time, and we'll move forward. And if you notice, we did also select the option to create a service ticket. Now, this again pulls into that idea of being able to manage your services after the quote or order has been converted. So here we've got information that's being pulled from our service ticket configurations. We're going to go ahead and pull on a couple different pieces of information here, like our team. We're going to set our budget hours to 3 hours, and we're going to call this the installation of C2960S switch. And then we can put in some notes. Now, one quick thing to note is that depending on the way you have your ConnectWise configured, the description area may or may not be customer facing. So we provide this an internal analysis note as well, which is an internal field, which is internal facing. So just keep that in mind, depending on how your system is set up and where you want this information to be displayed. Again, new detailed description note may or may not be customer facing. The internal field is going to be completely internal. So we'll hit save here to create that service ticket. And that should finish up our process here of creating that opportunity, the follow-up activities, as well as that service ticket. So we'll now click back into that links tab that we did before. And just like HubSpot CRM, you can see we have links to all of the different contact and company information, as well as that opportunity. So we're going to click on that opportunity link, and you'll see that it pops open this opportunity for us directly in ConnectWise. There's a couple of things I want to point out here. First off, you can see that the information that we put into our create opportunity screen have been brought over. This is again being associated with an opportunity that was previously created in ConnectWise. The different fields that we put in here have been brought over, like probability, for example, our campaign, sales rep, inside sales rep location example. And then you can see in our custom field 1, the note that we put in our purchasing notes field has been brought over using that DataLink process. So just wanted to show you what it looks like. Again, DataLink is very extensible. You can pull in whatever information makes the most sense for you. This is just an example of one of the ways that you can use it. Now scrolling down a little bit further, you'll see that we have our different products. We've got our Cisco switch, we've got our labor, and then we've got our managed service here, which you'll see is recurring, which is great. And you can see that it even brings over the total revenue for the entire contract period for us. So that's opportunity. The product tabs has information about our products. You'll see in the activities tab that both our appointment and call are listed here. So these are the follow-up activities. We also have our attachments. So we have a link directly to the quote in QuoteWerks Web. So if you click on that, it'll bring up QuoteWerks Web and this quote for you. And then we have a link to our DTF file, which again is the native file format for QuoteWerks quotes, where you can open it up directly in QuoteWerks. The other thing I wanted to show you is this conversions down here. And this is the service ticket that we just created. Again, this would be the ticket that would manage the process post-sale of actually implementing the switch that we just quoted. All right, so now we've quoted the opportunity. Let's say that the customer either goes into Quote Valet and accepts the opportunity or accepts the quote, which would then convert the quote to an order. Or let's say they've called us and given us the go ahead. What we could do is we could come over to File and we would convert to an order. This is going to convert the quote to an order, and it's also going to give us the opportunity to convert our deal or opportunity to one as well. You can see our close existing ConnectWise opportunity as one window opens. Here we could put any descriptions that we'd like. We can update the information here. You'll see that our probability has been updated to 100%, and our forecast status has been set to 1 in QuoteWerks as well. Now, I don't plan on going into much detail into projects, agreements, or sales orders in today's demo, but I want to note that you do have the ability at the time of conversion to create projects, agreements, sales orders, and additional service tickets if you'd like as well. I'm going to opt not to create these as we're really demoing just the opportunity process here, and we also already have our service ticket. But do know that you do have the ability to insert information from this opportunity into a project, into an agreement, and a sales order as well at this point in the process. I'm going to hit save, and this is going to update all that information that I just put in, and that was automatically updated per the automation here. And we're going to go back to our links tab and view our opportunity in ConnectWise. And you can see that it has been updated to 1 in QuoteWerks, and the opportunity has been closed. But we still have our conversion over here, which would be our service ticket that our service team could then use to go and service the actual opportunity. So end-to-end example of how you might go from quoting an opportunity out of ConnectWise, then bringing that quote into QuoteWerks, and creating that quote from that opportunity directly in QuoteWerks and then delivering it to the customer. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options that you have. The extensibility of these integrations is really pretty great. And the way that you're going to implement these in your environments are going to be very much based on some of those setup questions that we asked. You know, what does the actual workflow look like? How do you run your business? And that's going to be what's going to govern how we are going to move through the actual setup and how you're actually going to use the solution. So I don't see any questions there, but I, again, welcome anyone that has questions to pop them in. We went through our walkthroughs here, and I just want to, again, highlight the fact that there are a number of different resources out there for you. We've got the help files, we've got the videos, the form. We do have these webinars going on a regular basis. I'd like to have 2 a month at least, so keep an eye out for those invites. I did see in the beginning there are a couple people that are receiving our tips and tricks emails. Those are monthly emails highlighting a different feature or function within the QuoteWerks environment that might be something new to you, might be something old, but we ultimately provide you with best practices and review how you might be able to utilize that in your business. And then, as I mentioned, we also have the community@quotewerks.com email address. So if there's any questions post-webinar, or if you just want to drop us a line with some suggestions for future content or anything like that, we're always happy to engage. And like I said, and along that same note, we're always happy to engage on the technical support and sales side. So if you'd like to reach out, we've got our number there, along with our different email addresses too. So without further ado, I think that is just about it. I do have a slide here just as a placeholder for questions. I didn't see any.
We do have a question that just came in. Mike had a question. How does the speed compare between QuoteWerks running locally versus web? If you want, I'll go ahead and take this one.
Sure.
And Mike, it really depends on where the database is. And one of the great things about the way that we implemented QuoteWerks Web is that you can actually use QuoteWerks Web and QuoteWerks Desktop at the same time in a hybrid environment. So your database can either be hosted by you, it can be hosted by a third party like like Azure or AWS, or we can host it for you as well. And if we're hosting your data, it's going to be ultimately the fastest when it comes to QuoteWerks Web. What you were seeing there on the demo was using our hosting with QuoteWerks Web, and it basically that is the best environment for QuoteWerks Web. But it really is going to depend on where your data is stored, whether it's locally at your office or if it's hosted by a third party up in the cloud. Okay.
Great. Well, I don't see any other questions there. Again, if you have any questions that pop into your mind after the webinar, feel free to shoot us an email, community@quotewerks.com. And I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar today, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Bye, everyone.